Available for 50% off the normal tuition for private schools across Chicagoland. Just go to halfpriceschools.com, search for a school near you, and purchase a voucher today. Then, prepare to send your child back to school this fall, in classroom, to a school that you can trust. Visit halfpriceschools.com today.
Indeed believes less is more. That's why they have powerful tools to help you source, screen, and hire quality people faster. Learn more at Indeed.com/credit.
7:38 Team Hochberg Traffic Center time and Jim Telemonti.
I-57 northbound traffic is a solid mess from 159th Street to Dixie Highway. There's a rollover crash blocking at least the center lane. It is 55 minutes for a travel time from I-80 to the merge. Outbound, it's 12 minutes. The Bishop Ford Freeway is an alternate for some. It's just 11 minutes, 80-94 to the Rhine. Looking at the Stevenson Expressway. Northbound I-55, delays are from Central to Kedzie. Travel time is 37 minutes, 3:55 to Lakeshore Drive. The Rhine is a little bit heavier this morning, 25 minutes from 95th to downtown. Inbound Kennedy, 35 minutes O'Hare to downtown. The Eisenhower, 37 minutes from 390. The outbound side of the Ike, 28 minutes downtown to 390. That's traffic. I'm Jim Telemonti on AM 560, The Answer.
Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. Partly sunny in your forecast. Very warm today with a thunderstorm, high of 88. Will be 85 tomorrow, 83 on Wednesday, and then a very sharp cool off on Thursday with a high only of 64. It's 58 right now. Next news at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
From the Matrix Home Solutions studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. In response to the news that the Supreme Court has agreed to take up the case Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization and the Mississippi law that bans abortions after 15 weeks, you got the customary sophistry from the left. You have hysterical screeds like this in American Prospect from Amelia Pollard. If Roe falls, abortions could be criminal. Going to throw women in jail. And Fredo Cuomo over at CNN. It's not about science or consensus. It's about dividing lines, legislating to the far-right white fright vote. What? Flooding the zone with 536 bills that abridge a woman's right to control her own body in 46 states. It's just like voting rights in one way. You see, it seems like the far right only cares about protecting humans before they're born. Excited utterance by that dingbat, Fredo Cuomo. He conceded that a human being before they're born is a human being. You're supposed to say fetus, Fredo.
Right, you did it wrong.
Yeah.
Moron.
Better brush up on your propaganda. Well, what is the issue at bar in the case the Supreme Court will take up next term? How seminal could their decision in Dobbs be? Could it be the beginning of the end of Roe v. Wade as the law of the land? To help us explore that legal issue in a sensible way, a way that you will find almost nowhere else in the media, we're pleased to be joined by Clarke Forsythe, Senior Counsel at Americans United for Life. He's also author of the definitive book, in my view, of Roe v. Wade, Abuse of Discretion, the Inside Story of Roe v. Wade. Clarke, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Good morning, Dan and Amy.
Morning. So, Jonathan Turley, law professor at George Washington University, penned an op-ed on this in The Hill the other week, saying that this is the long-awaited clean case, Dobbs is. One that has a straight, unimpeded shot at the key controlling abortion case of Planned Parenthood v. Casey, the case which effectively reframed Roe around the key criteria that the Constitution forbids bans on abortion before a fetus has achieved viability. Is he correct on that? And if he is, what would the implications be of the Supreme Court upholding that Mississippi law?
I think he's correct. Jonathan Turley's just always a great commentator on legal affairs, very clear and very reasonable and very learned. The question, though, in this case directly is not the court hasn't been asked to overturn any precedent, Roe v. Wade or Planned Parenthood versus Casey, and the court is going to ask whether all pre-viable prohibitions on elective abortions are unconstitutional. That's kind of legalese. It's really nuanced. So it gives the court some flexibility. I think Roe should be overturned immediately. As soon as possible. I don't expect the court to do it in this case, but it's possible the court will show where it's going, because right now we don't really know what the so-called six conservatives will do. Only Justice Thomas has indicated publicly that Roe should be overturned outright, but the case will certainly help to show where the others are.
Well, what about Clarence Thomas? Okay. Go on.
So the pre-viability thing. If the Supreme Court says the quote-unquote pre-viability laws like the Mississippi law are constitutional, what are the implications of that?
That other states can enforce the same thing, but as you know, 90% of all abortions are performed before 12 weeks. So a 15-week limit will prohibit late-term abortions, which also have a considerably increased risk for the mother's health, as the science shows. But it's not going to affect 90% of all abortions. So it will be a step toward perhaps overturning Roe versus Wade. But, of course, Chief Justice Roberts is a big question. And so I think this is an important case. It's a good case for the court to address. But people should be realistic about it.
Well, Clarke,
which is why.
So explain how this is a step then, because people are going to see incremental. In best case scenario, it seems incrementally this will be an incremental step in that direction. But then explain what that path is. How is this a step in that direction?
Because for the first time, the court would uphold a gestational limit of any kind. It's never done that. As you know, abortion is legal in this country for any reason at any time because of Roe versus Wade. So the court has never even approved any gestational limit, let alone 15 weeks. And when the court has overturned previous decisions, big decisions, it's sometimes done it in one step or two steps or three steps. And so this could be one of a couple of steps. The other thing to consider is that there are something like 40 cases in the lower federal courts. So the court knows that it is going to have a wealth of cases, a wealth of potential cases to use to cut back on Roe versus Wade. I'm hopeful that if Justice Thomas and Justice Alito, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and Barrett favor overturning Roe, that they'll pull Chief Justice Roberts over to create a six-justice majority. But it may be in a second or third case and not this one.
How impactful is the landscape in this country? You write about this in your piece in the Journal, where you have a handful of states that are moving to be more liberal even on abortion, like Illinois seeking to overturn its parental notification law in the Democrat socialist controlled legislature and governor here. On the other hand, you've got states like Mississippi, but not just Mississippi, Missouri, North Dakota, South Dakota, Tennessee, that have moved to limit the availability of abortion. So that landscape across the nation that the Supreme Court justices are, of course, aware of, how much does that influence this idea that at some point we need to remove this from federal purview and let different states do different things?
Well, I'm hoping that diversity will encourage the court to release its grip on the abortion issue. release its grip on being the center of abortion politics in America. As you said, with quoting the screeds you've heard from the left, the predictions, those kinds of predictions, don't capture the diversity and public opinion in this country. On this 15-week limit, as I point out in the Wall Street Journal article, something like 7 in 10 Americans support limiting abortion after 12 weeks, after the first trimester. So there is a broad middle. There's a big middle in this country, which is never captured. But otherwise, some states will allow it, and some states will strongly limit it, even in the first trimester. But that reflects where public opinion is, like it or not. I mean, I think Roe versus Wade should be overturned, and abortion shouldn't be legal. But that, my view, isn't reflective of majority public opinion in the middle either.
Well, and here's the thing, and I wonder if your take as an attorney, as an expert in the space too. The court looks at the last 50 years and says, one of the things that Blackmun's penumbras and emanations did is take this matter out of legislature's hands and put it into the court's hands, and thus it's never been settled. The reason it's been so divisive and so contentious is in part because it was the judiciary performing a legislative function, and that didn't sit well with people across the country who have very different opinions about this and want to prosecute their cases through their duly elected legislatures.
Absolutely. Not only did the court take it out of the hands of the public and elected representatives, the consent of the people, but the court, when it did that, it also adopted an extreme position internationally. Because of Roe versus Wade, the U.S. is one of only 7 nations of 195 that allow abortion for any reason after 20 weeks. One of 7 nations. The most extreme in the world. We're one of the most extreme in the world. And the court imposed that on all 50 states and imposed that on a public that has never accepted that, as this case shows.
Yeah. And we consider ourselves so civilized. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But there have been, throughout American history, a number of self-inflicted wounds by the Supreme Court, such as Dred Scott versus Sanford back in 1857 that said that Congress couldn't limit slavery. Mm-hmm. Roe versus Wade is another self-inflicted wound that has done enormous damage to the court by having all our abortion policy decided by 5 judges.
He is Clarke Forsythe, Senior Counsel at Americans United for Life, author of Abuse of Discretion, The Inside Story of Roe v. Wade. Clarke, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Amy.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
This is Good News.